Apparently, there are married couples who think that they need to find ways to workify their marriages so they can race quicker to divorce. And so this is a new report by the San Francisco Standard, and they write that couples believe they can optimize their marriage the same way they've optimized their work. Oh my God, it makes me sick even reading this.
I'm in favor, we're gonna debate it.
Oh my God, Cenk. From marriage offsites to relationship performance reviews.
That was a bad idea.
Okay, and mental unloading apps. There's a growing ecosystem of tech tools to navigate the complexities of relationships in 2024. Relationships aren't that complicated. Just have a conversation with your partner. Something bothers you? Have a conversation with your partner. They're not receptive after bringing up the same issue over and over again. Maybe that's not the right person for you. But performance reviews in your marriage, performance reviews make me want to jump off a cliff. Okay, it's like the worst thing on the freaking planet.
You get good ones. So
no, I do. I don't get bad performance reviews because I work really hard, but I hate performance reviews. Imagine introducing that to your intimate life.
Yeah.
Like, you know what? You didn't last long enough. Sorry. Too quick.
Okay, I don't think that's the right direction. Okay, so first of all, we don't do standard debates here, and this is not really a debate, but I do disagree with you on the core of it. I will immediately concede, for the sake of reality, doing performance reviews for your partners is a disastrous idea. Don't do that. Okay, but the rest of it I like. So why? Because you learn skills at work that you didn't necessarily learn at school or in life.
Okay.
And the reason you learn those skills at work is because you are forced into relationships that you didn't have before, but that you have to maintain to be part of a team. And you get to learn how to communicate with people, and it isn't easy. So, and oftentimes you'll learn to not have assumptions, to have a process through which you do communication. And all of that is to make sure that everybody gets along. So there's a lot of lessons that have been learned in that world that actually can be applied in different places, and yes, including a marriage. When you get into the nitty-gritty, I think it's an even more compelling case.
I'm sure there are exceptions, but for the most part, when you enter a marriage, you are agreeing to a partnership because you like the other person. In a work setting, it is entirely different, where you are forced to work with unsavory people that you might not want to work with at all and can't stand. But your livelihood depends on it, so you have to learn those skills and stomach the unsavory people just to make ends meet.
Okay, so first of all, you're taking, of course, the darkest view of it.
It's the truth.
No, that's the truth for the people and everybody has this at work, right? For folks who you don't get along with at work. But is that everybody? Of course not. There's tons of people that you work with that you love, right? And people that you are mid on, it happens, right? So you have to learn how to deal with all those people. But once you've done that, including the most extreme with people you do not get along with, well, then you've got built up a skill set that allows you to be able to communicate effectively in a situation like marriage, where, yeah, presumably you like and love each other, but sometimes it's even harder because you're with each other 24 hours a day or a huge portion of the day.
I wish I was with my husband 24 hours a day.
Yeah, well, okay, God bless your heart for that.
But I gotta go to work, he's gotta go to work, and so our responsibilities separate us from one another, and it is a grave injustice. I'm just kidding. But Cenk, look, in my opinion, what makes a relationship work is communication and mutual respect. Those are the two important qualities of a relationship that succeeds. And having like the tech industry get involved with their fancy little tech tools. No, I don't want Silicon Valley in my bedroom. I don't need them helping me out with my relationship. People need to learn to communicate, and they need to have mutual respect. Once that mutual respect is gone, boom, your relationship, whether it's a marriage or not, over, done. Okay, if there's contempt for one another, over, done. Let me give you more details about this Sami Packard lady, okay?
Okay, I know, but first of all, there's already silicon in some of the bedrooms, and there's already values.
I mean, there's like maybe some fun stuff, right? Like fun tools for intimacy, but like I'm not talking about like management tools for your relationship.
No,
That's
I got
crazy.
you, but I will say, you said the pillars are respect and communication. But you know what? At work, oftentimes you have to teach folks how to respect one another, right?
Yeah.
And the number one challenge at work is communication. So, and you don't have to reinvent the wheel. And a lot of people that are in marriages have no idea about the tools to better communicate. It doesn't happen by magic. And so that's the heart of my argument, which we're gonna get to in a second, but tell us their tactics.
So Sami Packard calls herself a change consultant. And when she decided that her husband, Ben, that she and her husband, Ben, were going through some marital stress, she decided that couples counseling just like wasn't cutting it, right? She's like, oh, talking to an actual licensed professional about this isn't helping, so why don't I turn to sticky notes? And so she took matters into her own hands and turned to technology to save her marriage. Here's a fun photo of her that looks like hell. I don't like, is there gonna be a lecture? More sticky notes?
Well, okay. Definitely, it appears. There was a lot of sticky notes there.
By using everything from bar graphs to vision boards to Post-it notes, Sami and Ben basically did an analysis of their entire marriage, and then they took it from there, okay?
I like it.
Listen, if it works for them, great. But this ain't it for other people.
But Anna, look, you have this like idealistic version of romance and within a marriage.
No,
like,
I don't.
Oh my God, we fell in love and that will solve everything. Okay.
Marriage is hard. Okay, there's a lot of.
This gives you a process for a hard thing.
I guess my problem with this is these tools in a workplace setting make sense because you are forced into relationships you don't want to have, but you have to have for your livelihood. A marriage is supposed to be different. It's supposed to be two people who actually consent to joining together into a partnership.
Yeah, well, you do in a sense too when you join a company. I get it's very, very different, but let's go to the main point, which is, look, what are the Post-it notes for? It's to say, okay, here's the things that we have. And one thing she said that I really liked, she said, first establish what are the things we need to get done. See, these things are non-negotiable, and most couples don't ever talk about them, and then they build up resentment that they did too many and the other one didn't do enough, and they never really talked it through, et cetera, et cetera. And sometimes as one person feels like they actually are negotiable. I'm not sure we should do those things, but they never voice it. The other person never hears it.
You gotta communicate.
And sometimes, a lot of times, there'll be assumptions based on perspectives that they never talk through. Their perspective is this is a big deal, and they assume that the other person thinks it's a big deal but isn't doing anything about it. Whereas that person might be thinking it's not a big deal at all, and they don't even know why the other guy's stressing out about it, right? So what the Post-it notes are doing is, as an example, hey, here's the things that we need to do. Here's the things we care about. Now let's figure out how we're gonna do them, right? Because we got into this relationship, so now it's our responsibility to figure out how to manage this relationship. And I think that's true. Now, does it sound cold? And the minute you talk about using work lingo inside of a marriage, does it feel gross?
Circling back in the
Let's
bedroom.
put a pin in that, Anna.
Yeah, putting a pin in it. No lady is looking for a man to put a pin in it. Okay, let's just keep it real.
That's some lingo from work that you guys are all familiar with. There's tons of, like my favorite that we talked about on another podcast we have called Old School is, for a while they were saying, let's take a bio break.
Oh my God.
And my co-host Ben Mankus was like, why not just say a break instead of making us think about it?
Yeah, we don't need to know the details. Yeah.
Right, and so sometimes that lingo is absurd. And if you don't realize it's absurd, yeah, it's gonna feel super goofy. But you don't need the lingo. My whole point is, this process, any process that facilitates a conversation and much better communication between the partners is gonna lead to a way better result. Or it's gonna lead to you guys realizing that you don't belong together. And that's okay too. The quicker you get there, probably the better off you are.
Listen, if there are couples out there who think this might actually help us enhance our communication, it could be helpful for us, great, okay? I feel disgusted and repulsed by the idea of performance reviews in a marriage. I don't think they should be allowed, they should be banned. I'm currently reaching out to congressional lawmakers about drafting legislation to ban this abomination. Okay.
Well, I had threatened that if I ever ran for president, one of my top issues would be banning leaf blowers in the country. And I blew it. I had a chance to do it, I didn't do it. So I hear you, I appreciate that you're gonna reach out to your Congress members for this overall. But guys, whether you do it in this goofy way or not, just talk to each other. That's the most important thing, because you'd be surprised at what you're assuming and that your partner doesn't necessarily share, right? They don't necessarily share that perspective or the priorities that you have. So talk it out, whether you do it in goofy lingo or real human lingo.
Thanks for watching The Young Turks. Really appreciate it. Another way to show support is through YouTube memberships. You'll get to interact with us more. There's live chat emojis, badges. You've got emojis of me, Anna, John, JR. So those are super fun. But you also get playback of our exclusive member-only shows and specials right after they air. So all of that, all you gotta do is click that join button right underneath the video. Thank you.